Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Good morning to everyone over on Instagram. And particularly, I'm going to pick out Blockade Demolition. Good morning to you, fellas. Good morning to the gang that were all here at dawn, basically. Dan Cullen was here at, when was he here? 5:59 a.m. Gary Muirhead was here at 6:15 a.m. And then Dan very kindly gave us the half-hour countdown as well. Good morning to you, fellas. There's Gary back again. There is Chris Ford as well. Happy hump day. Yeah, happy hump day to you as well, my friend. Who else do we have here? Scanning. Mark Whiting is here as well. And we've also got Ken Hatter as well. All good. Love the new name. What is the new name? Have I given Dan a new name? I can't actually remember. Dan, what new name are you talking about? I can't figure it out. It's an early day. This is not really an apology, but yes, yesterday was it ended on a bit of a serious note. Better today. The sound is still coming and going, my friend. I rebooted and reinstalled our audio software yesterday, so I don't know what's happening. And I actually did a recording last night just to make absolutely sure. Seemed to be okay. Yes, Dan Cullen is now a digger spotter because he does spend a lot of his time spotting diggers. Jim Turner, modular Jim Turner, is here as well. Good morning, Jim. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Yeah, as I say, all got a bit serious yesterday. Just one other thing, very, very quickly. Yesterday afternoon, early evening, knock at the door. Somebody delivered us a basket of flowers of condolence. But they arrived without a card. Now, I only told you lot about this at about 10:30 yesterday, so I'd be astounded if it was from any of you. If it was, thank you, and please, make yourself known either publicly or privately. If it wasn't, it remains a mystery. We had a card on it that says from our family to yours at this sad time, or words to that effect. Obviously, very, very grateful. Just wish I could say thank you because there was no identifying notes on there at all. So if it was you, thank you. Gary Muirhead should have been with a card. It was you then, Gary. Well, Gary, thank you to you, Christine, and the Muirhead gang. It really was very much appreciated. Well, appreciated by me, appreciated even more by my good lady wife. She's doing okay. She's doing okay. I mean, her and her father. It's weird. I don't know what your families are like. I was very close to my mum, and my sister was very close to my dad. In my wife's family, she was probably closest to her dad, who obviously has just passed away, and her sister was closer to the mum. So it's weird how family dynamics work. But I'm surprised at just how well she's doing given everything that's going on. That being said, she is running around like a headless chicken at the moment. So when the dust settles on all of that, maybe, just maybe, it might all get a bit unpleasant. But there we are. But Gary, thank you from the very bottom of from the very heart of my bottom. Thank you again. Should we crack on? Without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. And speaking of question of the day, it does actually come from Gary Muirhead. So stick around. Yes, good morning. Sorry, just having a bit of a slurp. It is Wednesday, the 12th of February. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition. In today's show, Husqvarna unveils the latest word in interchangeable battery technology. Caring for big cat equipment down under. JCB declares that hydrogen is working. And we're going behind the scenes at an intelligent Lugong factory. Plus, in my morning monologue, we're back onto my kind of morning monologue. In demolition and construction, no one can hear you scream. And yes, I did steal that from the old Alien movie, but for good reason, I think. Before we get to all of that, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine to deal with. So I'll fire that up right now. Now, I know better than to make wild predictions on the Mystery Machine because we do have some real experts in our midst. Dan Cullen, looking at you. But I reckon today's is a tough one. I've done nothing at all. I've not changed the colour. I've literally not touched. I've removed the background to make it nice and crisp. I've done nothing, but I reckon this is going to be a tough one. So break out the magnifying glasses and see what you make of this. There you are. As always with the Mystery Machine, I would like a make and a model, if you would be so kind. I'm not a betting man, but if I were a betting man, I reckon I could well emerge victorious today because I think it's a tough one. It's not your everyday machine. It's current, but it's not your everyday machine. Yes, please let us have your thoughts on that. I will take that away because I do need to remind you very quickly of our question of the day, which looks like this. Yeah, as I've already said, our question of the day today comes from our resident quizmaster, Mr. Gary Muirhead. And Gary supplied this actually as one question, but I'm going to divide it into two, mainly because, we need more questions of the day. We're going to do the first part today, the second part tomorrow. You've seen the first part, you'll probably guess what the second part is. But Gary's question is this: what is the best feature ever added to a piece of plant or equipment? Now, personally, I'm going to say the air suspension seat, mainly because I'm inherently lazy and my specialist subject, as you can probably tell, is sitting down. But what about you? Best feature ever added to a piece of equipment? I think we've had Chris Ford says, question 8, hydraulic breaker enabling concrete of massive thickness to be reduced to pebbles. Good answer. Ken Hatter is going for the heater and air conditioning. Another comfort one. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Our friend Mick has just joined us now, and let me find Mick's button, which looks like that one. Morning, Mick. How you doing, mate? Good to see you here. Yes, yeah. Anybody got any thoughts on the best feature ever added to a machine? I'm writing something at the moment, by the way. Just it'll probably be tomorrow's morning monologue, but I'm writing a thing at the moment about nostalgia and our longing for the past, and I think one of the things I want to address in it is, we look at equipment of old. Wasn't that lovely? The old RB22 and the Broits and the Drots and stuff. Yes, I can understand the appeal. And I'm every bit as guilty. But would you swap any of those for the modern comforts of a machine of today? Not sure you would. Let's have a look. Jim Turner's going for hydraulics. Hydraulics, a pretty good addition, I would say. Come back to the Mystery Machine in a second. Dan Cullen says, decent cab soundproofing. Yeah, good answer. Mick, a decent driver. It is kind of the linchpin, isn't it? It is the linchpin. So Mystery Machine. Let me take Mick out of the way. Jim Turner says hydraulics means no ropes to snap or change. Good point. Right, Mystery Machine currently looks like this, and we've had a couple of answers, both suggesting Mechalac for some reason. Gary Muirhead go for the Mechalac 7 MWR. It's not. He also goes for the Mechalac 14. It's not a Mechalac of any description. Let me show you a bit more. Doesn't really help much, does it? But as I say, bit of a specialist machine today. Current, but a specialist machine. Keep the guesses coming in. While you're doing that, it is time to get on with the show. And we're talking battery tech in just a moment. Yeah, we've looked at lots of batteries and interchangeability systems here. The superb Z-Grip system, which I have to admit I'm a fan of. The one battery from Wacker Neuss, but here's another one. Those fine folks at Husqvarna have gone a bit like the power tool manufacturers. One battery fits all. Looks like this. Yeah, there's a bit of a future fuel theme to today. Try saying that without your teeth in. Obviously, that's electric, battery electric. A bit later on, we've got a longer film from JCB talking about the current state of play with all things hydrogen. I'll warn you in advance, it does actually borrow from a video that we've shown you before, but this one is much, much longer and much more detailed, about 7 minutes. So if you're into hydrogen machines or you'd like to understand the tech, stick around because we've got that coming up. What have we got on the mystery machine? We had any more on that? No, but Ken Hatcher is saying, I've swapped the seat. It's dreadful in the new Kubota 8-tonner. Is it? See, I mean, I do have a bit of a soft spot for Kubota, having worked for them for a number of years, but I always used to find them very comfortable. Have they downgraded that in some way? Don't know. Yanmar Track Dumper, says Dan Cullen. About our mystery machine, it is not. Let me show you a smidge more and see if that clarifies things a touch. There you are. It's a cab and a wheel, as are so many other items of equipment. Keep the guesses coming. I'll take that away because we are. Where are we off to next? Oh, I know. We're going down under to talk about caring for big cat equipment, and I do mean properly big cat equipment.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Dan Cullen says, you missed my Ponzi? What have I missed from Dan? No. He says, is it a Ponzi forestry machine? It's not. I didn't even know what Ponzi was. It's not one of those. Chris Ford going for a Wacker 9-tonner, DW90. It's not one of those either. There you are. I'll tell you what, let me show you a bit more because, well, that's the way I'm feeling. There you are. That's a bit more of a giveaway, but we are looking for a specific make and specific model. Jim Turner straight away says, small grader, ? Yeah, but whose? That's what we need. We need a make and a model. While you're doing that, while you're looking up compact graders online, I'm going to play you this.
Hi, I'm Warren from Hastings Deering, and today I'm at a mine site in central Queensland where the Hastings Deering Field Service team are working on the big gear. Our team are experts at servicing, maintaining and rebuilding your Cat machine. That's why we're the best option to keep your machine running. Let's go check them out. Our experienced field service team are dedicated to servicing and maintaining your Cat machine. From early models to the latest graders or autonomous electric drive trucks, our field service team can handle anything, anywhere. From preventative maintenance checks and routine servicing to complete Caterpillar certified machine rebuilds. At Hastings Deering, we travel far and wide across Queensland to keep your machine moving. Our field service team are backed by Hastings Deering's in-house technical services group. Our tech communicators have years of experience in the mining industry, so we can offer you innovative solutions to help manage your fleet. We know every mine site's different, but with 395 customisable service vehicles across 23 business centres, our skilled service technicians have the resources to meet your service needs. And we ensure that every service vehicle is stocked with the latest in Caterpillar tooling and diagnostic equipment to keep your machine in the dirt. Thanks for joining me today to see our amazing field service team in action. You can be confident we have the technical capability and capacity to optimise your Cat machine. From regular servicing to complete Caterpillar certified rebuilds, Hastings Steering, your advantage.
Of all the things I took from that, the biggest one was I'd really like one of those service vans. I really would like one of those. Ken Hatcher says they are a big cat dealer. They most certainly are. Mystery Machine has got you all scratching your collective beards. What do we got? Chris Ford is going for an XCMG GR100. It is not. Dan Cullen going for the NORAM 65E. He's also going for a GR100. He's going for a Shandong HR100. And he's also going for a Sany SAG 125/5. None of those things. None of those things. Let me show you a bit more. Doesn't really help at all. I can tell you, just to narrow things down, I know somebody else here has gone for XCMG. Dan Cullen going for the XCMG. I'll tell you now, it is not an XCMG and it is not a Shandong. In fact, no, that's as far as I'm going to go. That's as far as I'm going to go. But there's the machine you need to identify. I've got a longer film in a minute, so you've got plenty of time to go on and consult the interwebs and try and find out the right answer. Back after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Now, the title of the film I'm about to play you is called Hydrogen is Working. Now, I believe it will work in the future, and listen, I'm more than happy to take Lord Bamford's word. I know he's not Lord Bamford anymore, but I'm more than happy to take his word for it. I've only seen hydrogen machines kind of going around in small circles or going back and forth on demonstration. I am yet to see it actually doing a day's work. However, with Bauman now less than 8 weeks a week, you'd have to think there's going to be some sort of hydrogen presence there. I don't think JCB are actually exhibiting, but I think we can expect to see some more prototypes on the hydrogen side of things. But this is the film. As I say, it's 7 minutes long. You've seen bits of it before, but it's now a more complete package, which gives you a bit of an insight into where we are with all things hydrogen.
I think probably more than anything, it's the simplicity of it. Water. Plain, simple water. We never think of water as one atom of oxygen bonded by two different hydrogen atoms. Did you know hydrogen was discovered by a British scientist, Henry Cavendish? And that was in 1766. More than 250 years later, British engineers at JCB have succeeded in harnessing the power of hydrogen in engines. The engine has gone through exhaustive testing, amassing many thousands of hours both in test cells and in machines. Over 25,000 hours of machine testing has already been completed. People always ask us, where does the hydrogen come from? By introducing electricity, water can be split into oxygen and hydrogen in an electrolyser, just like this one here in Tyseley Park, Birmingham. Capture the hydrogen gas and you've got a valuable source of energy that can be used to power cars, buses, as well as construction and farming equipment. It can be stored easily in tanks and it can be distributed very straightforwardly, making it a mobile fuel, just like diesel, but without the carbon emissions. This is power, simple, straightforward, and emitting nothing but steam when used in a hydrogen combustion engine. It's simple, and it's working. Yes, hydrogen is working, helping to build houses, hospitals, and hotels with zero emissions. It can work anywhere, and it can work everywhere. It's simplicity itself. Hydrogen is working. Let's hear what our customers have to say about it all.
I often say with climate change, there's no winners or losers. We're either all win or we all lose.
So decarbonising something like telehandlers is a huge challenge. So it's really, really important that we explore with our partners different alternatives for powering our fleet.
And already today, we've seen a 25% reduction in our overall carbon footprint, but hydrogen really has the potential to take it further, not just for us, but also for the wider industry.
We're very, very pleased with the operation of the JCB machine. We call them the heartbeat of the site. So when that heartbeat stops, the site stops.
As innovation lead at BAM, we're introducing new things like the hydrogen fuel machine. It is different, it is novel, but it's safe to use, it's simple to use, and it's part of our future.
If we are going to benefit longer term with a cleaner environment, hydrogen looks to be the way forward.
Obviously with diesel plant, you're getting a lot of harmful emissions, and you don't get that with hydrogen plants. I think as hydrogen production becomes more mainstream in the UK, it will certainly help with energy security and reduce any risk of global supply chain shocks.
For operating this machine, it has actually been a very nice machine.
When you're driving diesel vehicles, on a good day I could easily go for a tank of diesel. So you think about emissions I'm putting into the air due to that tank of diesel I'm using. With this, you're not doing that.
To a large extent, we're at the bequest of the OEMs like JCB, and we're dependent upon them to work with us to find solutions that our customers want.
This is where we need to be, that actually we need to be changing quite rapidly in order to adapt to what our customers want, to what our broader stakeholders want, but also to what we believe is our responsibility in addressing the challenges of climate change and biodiversity loss.
When talking to our customers, they're interested in sustainable solutions that are stable, that are available, and that align with their own decarbonisation policies. Hydrogen-powered, no fossil fuels is exactly what everyone's looking for.
This is the future of our fleet. To have a net zero offering to our customers is critical to our longer term objectives.
Zero carbon machines on our sites is 100% the way that we need to go. It speaks volumes for us as a business. It drives our net zero, it hits our KPIs. It also shows our clients that we're committed, and we're committed to that change.
For me, it's quite groundbreaking, to be honest with you. To be in a project where you see the first hydrogen machine, for me it's quite fulfilling as well.
Essentially, it's using internal combustion technology, which is well known within the market. We already know that technology, we know that fuel process, so it's quite easy for customers to relate to that type of technology.
Currently, we fuel with diesel through towable fuel bowsers that we transport around site. The same principles apply. It's still point of application. It will be directly where the JCB is sat, and it will be fueled.
There is no real differences, no differences in performance at all. So if you were blindfolded and put them on, you wouldn't know which one you were in.
So currently we have around 6,000 generators across the network. This is where hydrogen gives us such an exciting opportunity to potentially replace a lot of those diesel generators and use hydrogen as a greener option.
I think it will be the future, and it definitely is going to be a lot better for everyone in the long run.
Using hydrogen's going to be a critical part of us meeting our net zero carbon targets. We've set very challenging carbon reduction targets, and we're going to be reliant on technology such as the hydrogen telehandler to help us get there.
We've proven that hydrogen engine can be produced on our existing engine assembly lines here at JCB. Storing hydrogen, distributing hydrogen, and using it as a carbon-free fuel in JCB machines is straightforward, as we've just proven. Hydrogen-powered machines are working on building sites in Birmingham right now with the fuel they need coming from Tyseley Park. Basically, we need more Tysleys to provide the zero-emissions power to machines working in Birmingham, Berlin, Budapest, Boston, Baku and beyond. All of this for water and electricity. The production of hydrogen at scale and at a competitive cost is critical to the decarbonisation challenge in our industry. So, if governments around the world are serious about decarbonising construction and agriculture, they need to get serious about hydrogen production and incentivise investment in electrolyzers. This is just the beginning, but the future for hydrogen machines on-site is clear, enabling the zero-carbon construction we so desperately need.
JCB, always looking for a better way.
Mick has just said, well done, JCB. Yeah, absolutely well done. There's a lot to unpack from that. One thing I want to pick up, and I couldn't see who actually said it, but one of the guys said about climate change. Either we all win or we all lose. That's a term that will stick with me. I may be using that at some point in the future, but you heard it here first. Second thing, I don't know whether those machines have been sold or whether they're actually out on demonstration with those companies. But man alive, they've got some big names on board, haven't they? Flannery, Waits, BAM. Hats off to JCB. And the other thing that I wanted to say is about Lord Bamford. I'm sure I've said this before. I know JCB, Joseph Cyril Bamford. I realise that the company was founded and named after his father. But when Joe handed the reins to his son, it was like this. It's now like this. You know, let me get my angles right. There you are. You can see all my hands. I'm always mindful of the fact that we don't give people the recognition that they so richly deserve when it's still possible to do so. For example, Prince. I realise he's got nothing to do with plant and equipment, but Prince, an undisputed musical genius. And we all waited until he died to go, oh, Jesus, he was good. So I will say the same about Stevie Wonder. But please, people, pay attention. Stevie Wonder is a modern-day Beethoven. Make no mistake, he's a modern-day. Let's applaud. And Lord Bamford, what he has achieved since, there are some people that inherit a company from their father and basically piss it up the wall. He has taken a great company and made it a world leader. Unbelievable stuff. Now, we do need to go back to our mystery machine because there's loads and loads going on with that. And I can tell you that somebody's got very, very close, but not quite close enough. So what do we got? Dan Cullen going for a Fat Alice. A Fat Alice motor grader. No, Jim Turner's going for a Schaefer or a Kramer. He's not. Dan's going for Mahindra, which I'm fairly sure is a Curry. I may be wrong about that. Dan is also going for the Komatsu GD655. He's also going for the Fat Alice again, the FG85 and the 65B. Now, this is where things start to get interesting. Chris Ford reckons it could be a Lee Boy 695 grader. It's not. But you're that close. It's not a Lee Boy a 685. It's not a 635 either. But you're heading in the right direction. Jim Turner says, if we must leave diesel behind, this is the only viable option. And again, I think that's talking about he's definitely talking about hydrogen. I wonder where we actually are. And I realise that JCB have got a lot vested in this because not only are they producing hydrogen combustion engines and the machines, but obviously Lord Bamford himself, or Anthony Bamford, has got a partnership with one of his sons on a hydrogen production company. So I wonder where we really are. How far are we away, well, A, from actually being able to access sufficient hydrogen and sufficiently widespread hydrogen? That would be one guess. And the other part is how soon could you get a hydrogen machine? And the same thing has happened here on the mystery machine that happens so often. Somebody has got very, very close and then somebody else swoops in. So Dan Cullen has also gone for a Dresser 850. He went for a Sany PQ 190. He went for the Lee Boy 635B. It's not, but he got the right one. There you are. That's what it is. It is a Lee Boy, which I think is Indian. I'm fairly sure they're Indian, and it is a Lee Boy 985. So my bet that nobody was going to get it, I would have lost money. Which happens a lot to me on this show. That's a whole other story. So let me show you it. There you are. That's what we were working with. And as Dan correctly identified, it is a Lee Boy 985 compact grader. Congratulations, Mr. Cullen. I need my special pen for this. DC, 3 points. It's heading the same way again. Heading, Chris Ford apparently is still guessing 635C. It's not, and Dan is apologising. Jim Turner says, climate change is just weather and part of a cycle. We're still coming out of a mini ice age. The world is still not as warm as it was in the Roman or medieval warming periods, and we have less CO2 in the atmosphere than in the past. Excuse me, but the increase in CO2 has meant that an area the size of the USA has regreened, and as plant find it increasingly easier to survive. Does that make you a denier, or are you kind of sitting on the fence and saying people are overstating it? I'm interested. Dan Cullen says, Leeboy has some fleet of graders available. They certainly do. Yeah, I go in search of these obscure machines to try and trip you up. Can't be done, apparently. What have we got left? We've got one more film left for you, and then we're getting into a fairly tough talking morning monologue, if you fancy a bit of that. And we've got one more film, which is going behind the scenes at an intelligent Lugong factory. So back after this. Chris Ford says, my internet is a week behind. That was my nickname for one of my old girlfriends. That's a whole other story. I won't dwell on that at all. Yes, Lugong. I did say Lugong, didn't I? Yes, Lugong. Intelligent factory. And it looks like this. There were bits of that film that reminded me of the Terminator 2 movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger being assembled. Yeah, fantastic film. And going back to Dan Cullen here, fair play to Lugong. They've come a long way in recent years. All of the Chinese manufacturers have come a long way in a very short space of time. Some of them have been around for 60, 70, 80 years, but some of them are literally 20 and 30 years old. Literally rode the Chinese boom. There we are. From no one will touch them to a player in the demolition industry, machines and construction. Yeah, absolutely right. They've really made inroads into demolition. Mick has said, as long as the monologue doesn't include Starmer or Reid and the Mad Hatters, Trump and Musk. There are a few references to government, but just not specific government. It's just governments, plural, in the lightest possible sense. But it's anti, if that helps. So that's pretty much the main. Well, that's about it for the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, then please do stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, stick around because I have much to say. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I hate to be the one to break it to you. But if you work in demolition and construction, no one is coming to rescue you. No one's coming to rescue you because no one knows you're in distress, because no one is listening. When we speak about the mental health crisis that has gripped the sector, we're shouting into the void. When we talk about the skill shortage that threatens the very survival of the industry as we know it, no one is listening. When we question the wisdom of working with asbestos and other known toxins, no one cares. When we raise concerns over the day-to-day hazards of working in demolition and construction, we're talking to ourselves. When we call for job security and fair payments, our call is silent. Our cries of anguish and pleas for help or respite are falling upon deaf ears. To paraphrase the tagline from the original Alien movie, in demolition and construction, no one can hear you scream. Over the course of years and decades, a system has been engineered to ensure that our men and women have no voice, no outlet. It's a system that keeps our issues, our problems and concerns away from prying eyes and listening ears. At the very top level, the demolition and construction industry used to speak to government. Accounting for around 6% of UK GDP, the sector could speak loudly and make changes. But it stopped speaking. Balfour Beatty quit the Build UK organisation because they had better links with government than the self-appointed conduit created to link the sector with those in power. The National Federation of Demolition Contractors used to have a couple of pet MPs that they would wine and dine, invite to functions, and to whom they could express their concerns. That link has gone too. Demolition and construction used to take place largely in the open. Residents, pedestrians, and young people could see the activity taking place on site, and some might be inspired to join the industry themselves. Today, demolition and construction takes place mostly in secret, a holding separating them from us, a veil of secrecy that has improved site safety and security, but it's simultaneously killed passive inspiration. There was a time when demolition and construction spoke to the media to spread a message of positivity, explanation, and pride. Today, the industry is too cowardly, too self-absorbed. It's become timid, afraid to speak and afraid to be seen. Even in the aftermath of a tragedy, the industry remains tight-lipped, silent. Instead, they host meetings, conferences, seminars, and exhibitions during which they speak to and congratulate themselves. On the rare occasions they're in front of bodies like the Health and Safety Executive and the Environment Agency, they doff their collective caps in deference. They do likewise when they're face-to-face with clients and client organisations. Instead of calling them out for their unreasonable deadlines and even more unreasonable payment terms, they bow their heads and they say nothing. As a result, no one outside the industry is even remotely aware of the critical challenges we face as an industry. They neither know nor care that the sector has a suicide rate that is roughly 4 times the national average. They neither know nor care that asbestos has claimed the lives of tens of thousands of demolition and construction workers and is continuing to do so. They neither know nor care that the number of site fatalities on demolition and construction sites has spiked since the COVID-19 pandemic. They neither know nor care that we don't have enough workers to build the required number of homes, schools, hospitals, roads and bridges that we need. Having cut ourselves off from the outside world, we've engineered a scenario in which the industry is in desperate need of rescue, but no one can hear our distress call. If you think the government or the CITB is going to solve the skills shortage, you're wrong. If you think that a bunch of tiny charity organisations and a collection of rapidly deployed mental health first aiders are going to cure your mental health crisis, you're wrong. If you think someone is out there trying to ensure that demolition and construction retains human workers and doesn't just embrace AI and autonomous machines instead, you're wrong. If you think the banks are going to save your ailing company from insolvency, you're wrong. If the industry is to be saved from itself, that salvation has to come from within, truly within. The government is interested in construction purely as a lubricant that keeps the economic wheels turning. Trade associations are interested only in the next fancy lunch venue. Training bodies are focused entirely upon the amount of cash they can extract from the sector before the industry wakes up to the scam being perpetrated upon it. The self-appointed industry leaders just want another medal around their neck, another set of letters after their names. The good ship Demolition and Construction is sinking. There are no lifeboats. There's no rescue mission. And we're on our own. You can scream all you like, but no one is listening. Nice to have that off my chest. If you were here yesterday, you'll probably guess that that was partly inspired by my chat, extended chat with the lady at the BBC, who was, I'm not singling her out, she was absolutely lovely, but completely blissfully unaware of all of the stuff, what goes on in this industry. So that was where that came from. I think Jim's been reading the same reports and papers I have, as I've always believed. If Mother Nature wants us gone, she no doubt will. Anyone want to know the percentage of CO2 in the world? It's so low you wouldn't believe it. Not that. Let's have a look. Well said, and some problems lie in the misunderstanding of some foreign nationals that don't understand the language is part of the problem. I think in truth, let's get into that. Let's unpack that. And Dan, I know you have a bit of a thing with migrant workers, and I don't. So we come at this from two different sides of the same coin, I think. But why are we using migrant labour? If you're really going to look at this as a proper, if you're really searching for a holistic solution to some of the things that ails construction, why are we dependent upon migrant labour? And the answer is, first and foremost, that we have failed to attract enough people from here. Now, yes, you can point an accusing finger. All the young of today have no work ethic. They're all snowflakey. All of them are gay and transgender, and they all want to be YouTubers. And really, is that really the case, or is it the case that we have allowed our industry to become so secretive? Isn't the word, but so difficult to penetrate that nobody is bothering. If you go to, for example, go to the skill show up at the NEC in Birmingham, Google are there, and Apple are there, and Microsoft are there, and the car manufacturers are there, and the big retailers are there, and tucked over in the corner is possibly one or two little construction companies. Hello, would you like to come and work for us? No. Passive inspiration as well. I've mentioned that. The number of people, and I know some of you have come at this from a family perspective, but the number of people that I've spoken to over the course of 35 years, they went to school and they were literally looking out the window at school at a construction project, houses being built, roads being built, whatever it might be. And they've looked at it and gone, I fancy a bit of that. And I realise it was done primarily for safety concerns, but we now do everything behind closed doors. 7-8 foot holdings, everything is tucked away. So unless you really, really work at it, there is no way that you're going to be exposed to it. And I challenge anyone. If you could take a bunch of, let's say you took 30 boys and girls of 11, 12, 13 years old, and I know I'm singing Jim Turner's tune here. If you took 30 boys and girls of 11, 12, 13 years old, took them to a well-run construction site or a demolition site and said, "Here you go, guys, what do you make of that?" I'd guarantee that 2, 3, 5 of them would go, "Oh yeah, that's me. That's properly a bit of me. I fancy a bit of that." But we don't. And as a result, going back to Dan's original point, if we can't find enough British workers to do that work, we have no choice. My bigger concern is we've got that situation now. So we can't find enough of our own workers to go and do the construction and the demolition work. So we've brought in people from overseas. But those people are still susceptible to falling sick, getting injured, having hangovers, having drink and drug problems, needing holidays, having spouses that go into labour at a moment's notice, and all of those things. Given the experience that we've been through, do you honestly think that anyone is sat at the very top level of construction now thinking, yeah, we'll stick with people. Yeah, they're unreliable. Yeah, they let us down. Yeah, they do want holidays that we have to pay for, and they're always demanding wage increases? Or do you think they're looking at it and going, the sooner we can get a shot of these buggers and replace them with machines, the better? No, knowing the industry as you all do, and you all know it better than I do, you are basically, if you work in construction, unless you own the company, if you work in construction, you are basically fuel. That's all you are. You are fuel to keep the wheels turning. And if they could find a cheaper, more reliable fuel, i.e. AI or autonomy, I'll guarantee that they will take it. I guarantee that they will take it. Think about the number of issues. I'm going slightly off beam here, but think about the number of issues that we encounter day to day in this industry that we're all aware of. Asbestos, mental health, poor conditions on site, poor job security, late payments and non-payments, retentions. We're all aware of that. Next time you're in Starbucks, at the pub, down the cafe, out for dinner, speaking to friends, mention some of those to people that don't work in the industry. They won't have a fucking clue what you're talking about, because we have, directly or indirectly, we have engineered a bubble within which demolition construction takes place. I think part of it was done so that we don't have too much outside influence and we don't have prying eyes looking in. But what we've created is a situation whereby we've created a microcosm, this little microcosm, all of our own. And as a result, we've created problems, skill shortages, mental health, all of those things. And nobody outside is even aware that the industry is struggling. Think about it from a purely financial point of view. We in the past 20 years, we've been through a big recession back in 2008, 2009. We had the COVID crisis, and then we've had the current situation we're in at the moment. You turn on the TV and you will see banks holding out the begging bowl. Oh, times are so hard. Our managing director can only afford 15 Bentleys this year, and he had 20 last year. If you turn on the news, you're aware of the situation that is facing retailers, pharmaceutical companies, car companies, the financial institutions. When was the last time you turned on the BBC News, Panorama, whatever the TV programs are called, and the crisis facing construction? I can't remember one. I genuinely cannot remember one. So we're not suffering in silence. I do think there are plenty of people shouting about these things, me included, but we're talking to ourselves. We have become so good at talking to ourselves. I'm going to an Institute of Demolition Engineers spring seminar in, let me think, 16 days' time, okay? And, the great and the good, some of the best engineers in the entire demolition world will be there. And there'll be presentations going on and people hobnobbing and stuff like that. Will there be any outsiders there? No. Will there be any clients there? No. Will there be any outside media there? No. Will there be any government ministers there? No. Nobody is aware of what is actually facing us at the moment. And listen, I've been through this a lot. I went freelance in 1990, recession, 2008, terrible recession, COVID, terrible. I've been through this time and time again. And we seem to have retracted into our shell. I think we shouted quite a bit in 1990. We shouted less in 2008. We don't shout at all now. We just talk to ourselves. Let's have a look. What do we got here? Dan Cullen says, one big problem is no matter what problems are in the industry, no one will take a stance on it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I really am not. But when you think about the death of the unions, which were a focal point for working men and women to raise their concerns, and then they would take those concerns to management and possibly to government as well. With the failing of the unions, we don't have that anymore. Now, in my little bit of the world, we have a National Federation of Demolition Contractors where company owners, principals and directors talk amongst themselves. We've got the Institute of Demolition Engineers where demolition engineers talk amongst themselves. But where is the equivalent of that for the demolition and construction workers? 2.5 million of them, and none of them have got a central point where they can come together and go, this needs to stop. And even if you don't fully buy into, personally I do, but even if you don't fully buy into the concerns over mental health and suicide rates and everything else, even on that, there are people out there now, tens, if not hundreds of thousands, working men and women who don't know if they're going to have a job come Monday, don't know if they're going to get paid come Monday, subcontractors who will work tirelessly, put in all the hours that they possibly can to be told, oh, there's no money left. We're shutting up shop. We're calling it a day. Sorry about that. And then popping up a couple of days later. No one is listening to that. Because the issue is people ask for more money. Again, I think this comes back to this cyclical nature of the industry. When times are bad, people will drop their rates, be it individual workers dropping their rates to get a seat in a machine or a job on site, and then when they get comfortable, when when things start to improve and the workload goes up, maybe their wages start to go up roughly the same rate, but then we get to the top of the peak, everything, there's loads and loads of work, lots and lots of demand, and by now what was £15 an hour is now £27 an hour. But then the industry starts to go back down again. And that is the cycle. Rather than trying to find sort of a level and trying to stick with that level, we don't. We go up and we go down and we go up and we go down. And everybody in this industry, their immediate reaction, times is getting hard. What can we slash? Our rates. We'll cut our rates. We'll cut our training investment. We'll cut our marketing investment. We will slash. Not... Yes, times are hard, but we are a fucking elite level contractor. We're an elite level operator. If we say it's going to cost you £30 an hour, or if it's going to cost you £1 million to do this project, it's because it will be done fucking right, not bodged, not thrown together, not cobbled. It will be done right. But we don't. We cut and we cut and we cut. And then we have to go through the whole process again. 2, 3, 5 years down the line, when the workload does pick up, maybe we have a new government by then, everyone goes, oh, we're being underpaid. And up she goes again, up she goes again. And we get to the very top and all of a sudden it's like, this is unsustainable. We can't afford this now. As I say, get yourself on a job, agreed rate, prove you're reliable, your willingness, and once you proved it, ask for a raise. Yeah, there was one. Where did he go? I'm sure something. There you are, Jim Turner. I've used this phrase a lot, but I 100% support this. People won't be what they can't see. Our industry needs to go into schools and show kids what we do, or schools go to sites. Academics won't promote our industry, so that rules the teachers out. Yeah. There seems to be this unwritten notion that if you encourage somebody to become a doctor or a lawyer or a bank manager or a hedge fund manager, you have served them well. You have guided them towards a great career. When did we lose sight of the fact that working with your hands, working in demolition, working in construction, creating and shaping the landscape, when did we all agree that that was no longer a noble pursuit? When did the teaching profession wake up one day and say, yes, we're not going to send people out to wear hard hats. That there's no future in that. It fucking is. As Dan said, if you work hard, prove yourself to be reliable, you can earn a bloody good living in this industry, and you can transfer your skills. If you're a decent excavator operator, you could travel the world on that ticket. Not necessarily that ticket, but if you are sufficiently skilled. There's a guy who watches this show on a regular basis, a guy called Paul McHale. It's a Brit. But when they had the big earthquake in New Zealand, he went out there to drive a high-reach machine. He's worked in Norway, in Denmark, in the Arctic, or the Antarctic, I think it was. He's worked in New Zealand. He's worked in Singapore, all because he's a decent operator. Why are we not exposing our young people to those facts? Mick says, well, what can I say apart from agreeing with you? We don't need overseas workers. We need to get the lazy sodding gits off their asses, stop the benefits that is so easily available. If I had my way, those who come to the country effing work and stop pouncing off us. But the truth is, the absolute truth is that a lot of people that do come to this country are not pouncing off us. I realise that's a narrative that, and listen, I'm not going to tar everyone with the same brush, but you go onto a demolition or construction site in London, in Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds, Newcastle, Glasgow probably, although I know that less well, and you listen to the accents, and you'll hear Eastern European and you'll hear Asian accents. They've come over, and some of them are immensely overqualified. They used to be a brain surgeon, and now they're stacking bricks for a living. Because they for one reason or another, they have left their native country and they've come here. Yes, there are people that come here and ponce off the state. I hate to say it because I am a big old liberal and a big old left-leaning liberal. There are people that do that. There's no question about it. But you look at the major demolition, major construction sites up and down the land, and you will find some Eastern Europeans. You'll find some Syrians and Somalians and Lord alone knows what else. Dan says, don't agree with foreign nationals working in construction. It's the minority that haven't an understanding of the industry that's the issue. Again, why are we relying upon them? Going back to Mick's point, if we had an education system that was geared towards providing enough vocationally skilled people to keep the industry going, I've been writing about a skill shortage in construction for 35 years. How can those that sit atop this industry wake up in the morning and think, or go to bed at night rather, and think, well, that's a job well done, when they've not even put a fucking dent in it? How can they? And part of the problem is accepting the fact that we have a problem. And in 35 years of continually reporting about the skill shortage, there is not enough workers to build the houses and the offices and the roads and the ports and the airports and harbours and libraries and fuck knows what else. 35 years, and nobody on high has gone, well, hang the fuck on. Let's sit down with the education people, be that at government level or local level or both, and say, look, if we want this country to continue to grow and to prosper on a prosper, if we want homes and houses and schools and libraries and all of the things that goes with it, you people in education have got to take some of your output, some of your young people, and guide them our way. Once we've got them, we'll deal with it. We'll train them up. We'll put them through their competence cards. We'll knock the rough edges off. We'll show them what work ethic is all about. But we can't do that if you are constantly sending people to university, even though they don't want to go and they're not qualified to go there. You know, how are we as a nation going to step forward when we've accepted the fact that in an ideal world, people will come out of school at 17, perhaps, and go and spend 3 years at university and then take a gap year, and that we're putting back the flow of people into the industry, or into any industry for that matter, by 4 and 5 years. That's a problem. Why is nobody addressing that? I know of hundreds of hardworking men of different nationalities. They agree with these people. They have no interest in the job. They just want an hourly rate, not bother to listen. I don't think that's peculiar to construction. Obviously, that's what we talk about here, but I think you're absolutely right. Dan also says, reason nobody outside hears this because it's man eat man. Everyone for themselves, no one gives a fuck. If people stuff the issues to one side and actually stood up to developers and contractors, but they don't. And listen, there we are. Only the old boys clubs are aware, but keep it stuffed up their respective asses. I'm going to tell you a story. I may have said it before. If I did, my apologies. I attended a meeting, okay, and there was a representative there of Build UK, and Build UK at that point had told everyone that we've put. It was a year after, actually. They put in place a fair payment scheme. And a year later, they surveyed all of their members and found that not one of them was still paying their supply chain fairly. And this person had the temerity to stand up in front of an audience of people who were basically being paid late, and stood there and said, oh, well, you know, we put in place this fair payment scheme, but nobody's taking any notice of it. So what we need is for you to help us pay our bills on time. She spoke for about 20 minutes. And after the 20 minutes, everyone applauded. Why wasn't she lynched? Why wasn't she taken to task? Why did nobody among the officers or among the membership or the audience stand up and say, hang on a fucking minute, you're paying us late. You know you're paying us late. You have proved you're paying us late, and you now want to put the responsibility on us? How fucking dare you? Nobody said a word. Nobody said a word. Dan says, well, listen, government may listen, housing plans be up in the air. Everyone stood up. No, we're self-employed. We need the money. Here's a couple of things. You kind of have to seize your opportunities in life in general, but in these things. Keir Starmer has basically staked what tiny fragment of reputation he still has on delivering 1.5 million new homes in 5 years. Anybody that works in this industry already knows that he's talking out of his ass. It's a complete nonsense. There's no fucking way they're going to do that. That was an opportunity for the industry to say, oi, Keir, sit down and let me explain to you how the fucking world works. But they didn't. They didn't do that. And the reason I'm like, this was playing in my head. I've been talking a lot, too much, about the impending demolition of Grenfell Tower. Regardless of who gets the job, regardless of how the job is let and everything else, that is an opportunity for the demolition industry to put the CMA thing into the background, to put DIDCOT into the background, which I'm not entirely comfortable with, but it's a chance, it's an opportunity for Demolition to say, for different reasons, very difficult job, but look how we rose to the challenge. Look how professional we are. Look how sensitive we are. Look how community focused we are. It's an opportunity for us to stand up and be counted. You know what will happen? The lowest bid will get the job. There you go. Connor James Meehan says Kia knows nothing about construction trade. Never mind most common things. No. And listen, I don't expect our MPs and our ministers to know everything about everything. It would be unreasonable to expect that. But here's the thing, right? I was asked this when I was up at the BBC earlier this week. How did you get into demolition? And I said, I'm a journalist. And my exact words, and I've said this so many times, I'm bored with hearing myself say it, I don't know how to demolish anything, but I know hundreds of people that know precisely how to demolish things. Keir Starmer has around him access to Build UK, Construction Leadership Council, all of these people. Before going 1.5 million new homes in 5 years, not a problem. Wouldn't it have been an idea to sit down with a bit of a working party and say, look, I've got this plan, I've got this idea, 1.5 million new homes in 5 years. What do you think? At which point Build UK would have gone, you're fucking mental. But he didn't. And you know full well that when he misses his target, when the 5 years is up, which is 2029, would it matter? Bearing in mind the state of the nation at the moment, bearing in mind the consensus upon his first few months in power, is he going to get in again? So no, he'll go off and do his bit on the guest speaker. I'll be a motivational speaker, £1 million an hour or whatever it might be. Doesn't matter. And it was an opportunity for the industry to right itself. You want 1.5 million new homes? Right. Flash the cash. Let's invest in some vocational training. Let's get into schools. Let's get into colleges. Let's get into universities. Let's have open days at demolition construction sites to show young people what it's all about. Because by the time, if you're catching them at 15 years old, there is still a couple of years in which they can help deliver the 1.5 million homes that you have promised. But we haven't. Let's have a look what we got here. Mick says, no, not that one. Yes, Mick, agree. Get the well and fit men and women off the system, train them in construction, and give them an ultimatum, if that's what it takes. Connor James Meekin says, money and contracts talks, bullshit walks. Yeah. Look at mental health issues. Mostly is people that's laying at home, staring at the walls. It drives me nuts when people are working. They don't have problems. I think that's probably overthinking. Listen, bearing in mind, I sport the T-shirt of a mental health person. I don't necessarily agree with that, but there is a degree of it has become a bit of a card to play, hasn't it? And listen, I realise I'm going to probably piss some people off because I've been there. My dad was a bit of a depressive, and I remember telling him I didn't actually believe in depression. I used to tell him, "No, you just got the ump. That's not depression. You're just miserable." Until it hit me, and it hit me for various reasons. I won't bore you with again, but. So there are people out there, unquestionably. If you're constantly working away from home, if you can't make ends meet, if you're convinced your wife is having it off with your best mate while you're away at work, if you don't know where the next pound note's coming from, and so on down the line, I wouldn't be at all surprised if you were suffering from some sort of mental health issue, stress, depression, whatever it might be. The problem is it's now become a card to play. I fancy a couple of weeks off. Oh, my mental health. I'm really struggling. What? the worst thing that somebody could have said to me when I was having my funny half hour was man up, because I actually thought I was being fairly manly. But I do think we do need a few to man up a bit, or find a better way of diagnosing exactly what the situation is. If somebody says, I'm taking some time off for my mental health, fine, but can you possibly be a bit more specific? What is the issue? What is the issue? Are you pulling a fast one? Are you swinging the lead? Or is it something that we could do as a company or as an organization or as an industry to make that not the case? You're clearly, or you're claiming there is a mental health challenge that you're facing. What could we do to rectify that? And we do. You see that with drugs and alcohol. If somebody is found to be under the influence of drugs and alcohol, everyone is quite prepared to take them to one side. Okay, what's the problem? Maybe you should go and seek some counselling. Maybe you should go to rehab. Whatever, they tried to make me go to rehab, but I said no. Thank you, Amy Winehouse. Surely mental health is the same. And let's face it, in some instances, the two will be linked. Why have you turned up for work pissed? Well, because I'm fairly sure my wife's having it off with the next door neighbour. Right. Well, let's deal with that, shall we? Before you actually hurt yourself or quite possibly hurt somebody else. What say we sit down and get that bit sorted? What do we got here? Dan says, look at what was pre-pandemic. Mental health was almost unheard of. After the pandemic, it's through the roof. Money for nothing, got lazy and not asked. There is a degree of that. Yeah, there is a degree of that. No question about it. Mick says, word has it the company's already put a plan on bidding for Grenfell. A lot has been going on under the carpet. We don't know. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, if I were the government, I think I would be inclined to have done the same. And listen, I'll pin my colours to the mast. We had him on the show. There was a company called DE Group, a demolition company, who were actually in Grenfell Tower within hours of it happening, basically to check the stability of the building. In a just world, they'd get the nod, in my opinion. They already know the building. They already know the local community. They have worked alongside the powers that be, so they know the way that things are required to work. And also, it helps overcome the whole CMA thing. Think about that. If one of the remaining CMA 9, because obviously Squib Group is no longer with us, if one of the CMA 9 were given the job, you just know that somebody, one of the bereaved families, one of the action groups, one of the local community is going to do a bit of digging, and immediately, Angela Rayner, you've given this job to a company that committed fraud upon the UK government not 2 years ago. Yeah. Jim Turner says, it won't matter to Starmer. He'll be working for Bill Gates by then. He's got his future all sorted out. Yeah, that's the way it works. Connor James, that's a big old name. Connor James Meekin says, I worked doing snagging during the pandemic and see the amount of excuses you were hearing for people not coming in. Clients were livid. Nothing was ready to be handed over because the government were right up their arse about it. Dan says, yes, Mark, it's only a few out there that has issues, but not many as there is. It's a scapegoat for many. Yes, if you have problems, you need to go to a counsellor and let's see. If someone pulls a mental health card, send them off to be assessed by a shrink. If it were a physical condition, you would. There is a slightly odd. We pussyfoot with mental health, don't we? And I wonder if we pussyfoot because we're not actually attuned, we're not experienced enough with it. So the system can be abused. You know, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years' time, when we've really got to the bottom of what it's all about and, you know, what are the causes and everything else, maybe we would do that. But if somebody says mental health, we all go, don't say the wrong thing. Christ's sake, don't question them about it. Oh, that'll set them right off and they'll sue us. But we haven't really got the structure in place yet, I don't think. Dan Carl says, I think there'll be a battle for who's the lowest bidder and get the job done, I feel. Yeah. Listen, again, I mean, going back to the local community there, and I'm not saying they're looking for this, but, you know, obviously Angela Rayner's meeting with them didn't go entirely to plan. So they and it is, Grenfell is unquestionably a political football. So even if it's not the local community groups, action groups, bereaved families, you just know that someone on the opposite side of the house will find some way to kick Angela Rayner in what she once described as a ginger growler. If it transpires that they've awarded the contract to one of the CMA 9, someone will uncover it and use it against her. If it transpires that this highly sensitive, highly delicate, tragic, you know, when people are clamoring for a memorial or for the building to be replaced, you've actually chosen the cheapest chips option to get rid of it. Somebody will jump on that and they will use it against her. No question about it. A little scenario for you. I love a scenario. People from Westminster and the same council visiting Carnes Castle and a couple of demos faces at the same time having tea together. Yeah. See, it's a scenario that I don't believe would happen, bizarrely. Because I don't think we, within the demolition industry, actually have that degree of outreach anymore. You know, bearing in mind, I am far from being a fan of Sadiq Khan. But bearing in mind that the spiritual home of UK demolition is in London, with one notable exception, all of the biggest demolition companies in the country are in London. He is the mayor of London. You would have thought that by now somebody would have said, Sadiq, me old China, because that's how we all talk in London. Sadiq, me old China, how about you pop along to this fancy do we're having at the Royal Lancaster Hotel, and, you know, we'll wine you, dine you, and quite possibly 69 you at the same time to make sure that next time somebody says something daft about demolition, you gently stamp upon them. You aware of it happening? I'm not. Now, you know, if I were the NFDC, would I want to be breaking bread with Sadiq Khan? No. No, I wouldn't. I can't think of anybody I'd rather have lunch with less. But you'd have thought, you know, commercial imperative, lobbying and everything else, you would have thought that somebody would have gone, where is the heart of the demolition industry in the UK? London. Who basically makes a decision for London? This bloke. Maybe we need to rub him up the right way a little bit. Maybe. I mean, it bothers me that that's how business is done, but we all know it is. You know, let's make no bones about it. So you would have thought that somebody would have, Sadiq, fancy a spot of lunch, mate? Yeah. Anywho, that'll do me for today. I'm planning to get all nostalgic and stuff tomorrow. So, you know, having railed against the future world, I want to look back through rose-coloured spectacles at the past tomorrow. So if you fancy a bit of that, please be here at 10 o'clock. Until then, everybody, please have a fine and splendid day. Felt like there was something else I wanted to tell you, but there isn't. So, yeah, go and have a fantastic day. Dan says, guys, have a wonderful day. Stay happy and stay safe and get home safely. Yes, make sure you do that because your presence here tomorrow is required, expected and required. I'll see you tomorrow. All the best.